Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and this is my video podcast where I talk about all of the things that I have been making. That usually consists of knitting for the most part and potentially some weaving, yarn dyeing, spinning or sewing as well. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm a_little_crafting on Instagram or Ankiwoo on Ravelry. And I am recording this from Surrey in the south east of the UK, just southwest of London, and today is Sunday the 13th of April. It has been a little while since I last recorded. I last recorded on one of the first weekends in March. I have a 6-month-old daughter now who is getting more and more active. And so I have been posting a few little shorts on YouTube instead of taking the time to film a full podcast. But I've got quite a lot to show this week, a couple of finished objects, some new projects that I've started, some things that I've picked up that have been left on the wayside for a while. So yeah, I'll jump right into what I'm wearing. So today I thought I'd just throw on a cowl. It has been quite warm in the UK over the last few weeks, which has been absolutely lovely. We've had sunshine, very contradictory to regular English weather, especially in April. So I thought I'd just chuck on a little cowl with my white t-shirt, and this is one that I've been wearing quite a lot recently. It is the Velvet Mirror cowl by Andrea Mowry. And this particular one was knit in a kit by Botanical Yarns. So it's got this really nice pattern and it switches over to the opposite colours on this side here. And the yarn is a Surrey alpaca for part of it and for half of the colourwork, and then just a sock yarn for the rest. But yeah, I absolutely love wearing this at the moment. It's the perfect thing just to throw on, just for a little bit of cover around my neck when I'm out and about. And my daughter loves grabbing it at the moment. I would probably knit another one of these, but maybe not the same shape, so maybe slightly smaller so that it fits a bit higher up. Jumping right into finished objects. So I have been knitting a pattern called the Darlingpants by Rillerundt in some yarn that I just grabbed out of my stash. I have no idea what it is. It's just some grey, I think it must be superwash merino. And I managed to finish these Darlingpants. I knit the 0 to 3 month size knowing that my gauge would be very loose, and that therefore I'd get a much larger size as my daughter's 6 months. But I think these are going to probably fit her later in the year, as they are quite large. The pattern features this really lovely cable down the side of each leg, so I'll show you these, which is really nice. It's got quite a long rib at the top, just to make sure that the pants stay up, or the trousers stay up, and then this section here which goes at the front, which is a bit of stockinette in between some of the ribbing. And then yeah, you knit the legs and then ribbing at the bottom. And I pretty much used up all of whatever this yarn was. I think it was just 100 grams of DK weight. It might have been Aran weight actually. And yeah, you join underneath here, so I think I did a Kitchener stitch just to join that up. And yeah, overall quite a nice pattern. I would knit this again. If this doesn't fit my daughter in September, October time, I will just give them away to someone else who might need them. So I have a couple of other mum friends who have very younger daughters, so they might fit them instead. But yeah, overall like the pattern. It took me a bit longer than I expected to knit, mainly because of how long this section here is, so from the top of the rib, from the cast on all the way to the crotch area, I guess. But it was quite a satisfying pattern, especially I love that cable, so pleased to have knit it. And yeah, let's see if these fit her later on in the year. The other thing I cast on for just a bit of a small knit, because I was knitting a cardigan and I didn't want something massive to take travelling with me as we went to Spain in mid-March. So I wanted to cast on something small that I could take on the plane and also have with me when we were there. So I cast on the Hiedra headband by Fibre. This is a pattern that I had in my library for a long time. I've also got the Hiedra mitts that I want to knit at some point. And I knit this in John Arbon Knit by Numbers, but it's the merino one, so the discontinued one, with some leftovers from my Snaffald shawl. And this is what it looks like. So it's a really lovely pattern. It's cables and otherwise just knits and pearls, but similar to the Grow designs by Fibre. And yeah, I really enjoyed knitting it, and it was quite quick as well, surprisingly, considering it is cables. I tend to cable without a cable needle, but very satisfying knit. I stopped a couple of repeats short of the pattern just because I have a small head. So yeah, really pleased to have this. And what you do is at the end you drop a whole load of stitches to crochet these chains either side, which I really like the look of. My join is a bit rubbish, but I'm hoping that when I'm wearing it no one will be able to see, so it doesn't really matter too much. I found it difficult to join up just because of where the cable pattern was for some reason, but I don't really mind too much if it's a bit messy, so long as it looks nice on, and it does, so I'm pleased with that. I will probably make more of these in the future, bigger ones for gifts I suppose, and I know my family really like headbands. I've knit some for my mum and one for my sister as well, but I thought this was quite a nice thinner headband as well, which suits me a bit better. Yeah, it has a couple of different size options, so you can have, I think I did the thicker one of the two, which I really like, and yeah, just a really nice pattern to just go, because it's a 4-row repeat, so you can just kind of keep going, go, okay, well I'll do 4 rows, okay, well I'll do another 4 rows, a bit like stripes really. And yeah, it has this really nice design. So pleased with that. Used up another bit of yarn that was just in my stash and left over, so that's all done. My daughter is just staring at me as she's just woken up from the hallway. Hello. So I might have to have a little break now. But yeah, that is finished object number 2. I've got some other finished objects, but they fit into other categories, so I'll pick those up a bit later. Right, on to what I am knitting at the moment, and that is pretty much exclusively my Ginny cardigan by Andrea and Mowry. This one is living in a Clara Rose Crafts bag. As mentioned before, I don't think they are being made anymore. But yeah, this is my Ginny and how it's looking at the moment. This is being knit in Fibre Company Law, which is a DK weight yarn, and yeah, I'm pretty much almost at the bind off at the bottom. So it features this really lovely stitch detail, which is quite nice to keep you going, then it's not just a sea of stockinette. And it's a raglan, and it will have, when it's finished, a shawl collar and of course some sleeves. So yeah, I'm just at the ribbing at the bottom. I've made this a little bit longer than the pattern calls for, just because I quite like a longer cardigan. So I'm hoping it will be quite a nice wraparound cardigan. It's got a belt, and yeah, I'm doing really well on it in general. I think the last time I recorded I was probably just a little bit further than the underarm because I'd had to rip back and re-knit some, but this is the type of project that I really like at the moment, again because of that repeat that isn't, it's not boring, it's not just knitting, it gives me a bit of interest. So whilst I'm looking after my daughter, I can sit on the floor and just knit a bit with her, and yeah, and now it's just the bottom ribbing to finish off. I think I need about another inch before it's done. So yeah, almost there, and I love the shape of this kind of raglan as well. I don't have many raglans that I've knit myself, so definitely more in the future. I've done a lot of drop shoulders, annoyingly, because I don't actually think drop shoulders suit me that well. So more raglans in my future for sure. Yeah, and enjoying this colour as well. I think it will work quite well for me. I might try it on at some point soon, especially after I've bound off the bottom ribbing, and just see how it looks on me in terms of the length. I am knitting this on 2mm needles. That is just because I have a really loose gauge, which is disappointing, but at least I can knit it, and it's not like it hurts my hands or anything because I'm quite relaxed, and that's why I'm so loose in my knitting apparently. So yeah, I'm hoping to have this finished by the time I record next, or at least be almost finished, maybe on the collar. So we shall see how I get on with that. I am going away next week with my husband and daughter. I don't know how much knitting time I will have, but we are staying with my parents, so there might be, you know, a good amount of babysitting going on so that I can have a bit of knitting time. And yeah, generally really enjoying it and enjoying the colour, which is quite out of my comfort zone, but I'm trying to match everything to the pinks and greens at the moment. So my daughter tends to be dressed in pink and green quite a lot. But yeah, I enjoy the yarn overall. I think it softens up quite a bit if I have my gauge swatch. Yeah, it does soften up quite a bit when it's blocked. And yeah, I think that's everything I have to say about that project at the moment. Talking of which, I'm not actually working on anything else in particular at the moment because I've just finished a couple of things. Only just finished a couple of things as well. So what I was going to talk about is I am going to cast on very soon, possibly this evening, the Cedarwood Baby Romper by Sandra Magalhães in this really lovely yarn from Loom Yarns, which I bought at Unravel. This is Evermore, so it's kind of a neutral base but with lots of nice speckles. So there's some pinks, a little bit of blue, some mustard, and I think it will just be really lovely. I've got some mustard buttons to go with this, so my daughter can have the buttons to kind of bring out the mustard colour. And you can probably hear her now. So yeah, that is what my plans are for knitting at the moment, for the time being anyway. I have got the baby blanket that I was knitting on the go, but that's kind of on hiatus for now just because I want to get the cardigan done, and I don't anticipate my daughter needing that really thick Aran weight blanket until later in the year anyway, so there's no rush right now. But it is a nice project to have on the go, so I'll pick it up again soon. Yeah, so that's all the knitting content I have for now. Right, where were we? Next up, I am going to talk about my spinning. So last time I showed a singles on a bobbin, and I have actually now finished that spin. So this is Fibre dyed by Charmaine of Yarntings, and it is yak and silk. I can't remember the percentages. I probably did have a label at some point, but yeah, I can't remember exactly the split. And it's this gorgeous green and blue combo. And I think I also mentioned in the last episode that to begin with I didn't get on with spinning the silk, and I enjoyed the yak, but actually I did get used to it. So I think it just takes a little bit of time when you've been spinning a certain fibre, which was merino before this, to get into the groove of spinning a more slippery or less slippery fibre. So yeah, it's a 2-ply, and I haven't actually measured the weight, but I think it's probably around a sport weight, which is my normal thickness in terms of, if I don't try intentionally to spin a weight, then the yarn will tend to come out at sport weight. And I haven't quite got round to measuring the yardage yet, but I will do so when I ball it up. So I'll get an idea of that then. Yeah, I think what I will do with this yarn is probably make a shawlette or something out of it, because it does have silk in it. I'll show you. It kind of flops flops around, whereas something like a merino nylon just stays pretty rigid and it's in its skein, and that's nothing to do with how tightly I've wound the skein at all. It's just a very flowy, slippery yarn. So if you wanted to make a garment, it would obviously come out as quite a flowy, slippery one. And I'm thinking probably wouldn't work for a cowl because you need a little bit of structure. So yeah, I thought something like a little shawlette. Thinking, I mean, I feel like this would work really well with a lace one, but I'm not a big fan of lace. So it will have to be something quite simple. Maybe I'll just do a little scarf that's been in fashion recently. Like a mini one to just wear. Yeah, so that is all done, and I have started spinning some more, but as I said before, it's in kind of stops and starts. So I occasionally do some spinning in the evening with when my daughter's gone to bed, and I am currently spinning a Hedgehog Fibres club. My idea, and this comes onto what I've got to show you later, is to spin a whole load of singles for this one and then practice chain plying, because I think for one of the other projects I have in mind I'm going to need to chain ply it to make it work. We'll see. So, and I do definitely need some practice because I'm not that good at it. So yeah, chain plying is where you spin a single as you normally would, but instead of plying 2 bobbins together, what you do is you ply the singles on itself and you effectively make a 3-ply. But that works really well if you want a colour change, like a consistent colour change, because you're not needing to calculate, oh, exactly where I need to have the colour changes going on one bobbin when you've already made a bobbin of singles to ply together. So yeah, let's see how I get on with that. I'll report back later on. That's my latest finished hand spin. Next up, let's talk about some embroidery and cross stitch. So first of all, a finished object, because I've got lots of finished objects. And I did end up finishing my Peyto Lake. This is a kit from Vikas Space. She does lots and lots of mountain designs, and I absolutely love them. I would have all of them if my husband wouldn't be quite annoyed about having lots and lots of mountain embroidery kits everywhere. And yeah, I finished this off. Very, very relaxing. It's satin stitch embroidery, so it's really just one line and repeating that all the way along, which I find quite lovely and easy to pick up and put down. And yeah, it looks fab, to be honest, when it's finished. I've got a couple more kits that I'm not going to start quite yet, mainly because I want to do some smaller projects. So for example, I've got Gemstone Valley, which I got for Christmas, and then I've got 2 stitch alongs, so the 2024 and the 2025, that I would like to do at some point, but not as a stitch along. The stitch alongs are 52 sections, so you do 1 a week if you do the patterns as a stitch along, but they are also just really nice embroidery patterns, so I am keen to do both of those at some point. Talking of embroidery, but this time cross stitch, I have actually picked up a little bit of cross stitch. If you watched my podcast last year, you will remember that I embarked on the potions stitch along. So this is a pattern by TeenyWeenyXStitch, and it is a temperature stitch along. So you have a big pattern, 12 shelves, and then the equivalent amount of bottles for a month, for each day of a month on each of the shelves. So last year I did start off, I had a really good habit at the beginning of the year to do half an hour of cross stitch every morning, and I picked up the data from my dad's weather station and assigned the colours depending on what the temperature data was showing, and then I found out I was pregnant, went away for a couple of weeks, and wasn't able to take it with me, and then I completely stopped. So that is what happened. To be honest, I think even if the holiday hadn't stopped me, I think being so tired from pregnancy in the evenings would probably mean that I wasn't doing it very much anyway. Just because I am cross stitching here on black, which means that you really have to have the right light to be able to see, which is why I've picked it up recently, because we've had such lovely weather that I've just been kind of sitting sometimes in the mornings just doing a bit of cross stitch, which is nice and easy to see with the sunshine that we've got currently, although today actually it has been raining. So typically I try to record in good daylight and it's raining. But I am getting on well. What I did the other day was I filled in the shelf on March, and I am doing a few bottles at once because they're all going to be green for the next few days. This is still going to be based on 2024 because I started it, but that does mean that I just have all of the temperature data already. It's nice and easy just to have, and I've got it all printed out so that I don't need to keep looking at my laptop either. So I've assigned a colour for each temperature range and then printed it off so that I know, okay, that day is this temperature, this colour combination, and I've got all of the colours just in my little pouch separated out. So there's 4 different colours, or sorry, 4 different shades for each colour, and then depending on the section you do, it'll be 1, 2, 3 or 4. So you can see for certain ones, like this big bottle here, it's purple, but the middle is the darker purple, and then the outer part is the lightest purple. and I think this is going to look fab. Because my daughter was born in 2024, I think this will end up being hers. Didn't know when I started it that I was going to end up having a baby, but I think it will be quite nice. I might just put her name or something at the bottom once it's all finished, but it's going to take a while at this rate, to be honest. So I'm just going to keep doing it, and then in future I am quite keen to do another one of these, but with a simpler design. So I've seen quite a few much simpler designs, just because cross stitch I find is actually very slow. So I've seen one with some different kind of different blocks for each day, but really small ones, so you're only really doing like 4 stitches, or a bit more, or maybe, yeah, maybe 9. That looks quite nice, but I'll see. This is going to be an undertaking over the next while anyway, so I'll keep myself busy with it, but I do think it's really nice to visualize data in this way. I guess it's actually a lot of what I do for work is visualizing data for people, so I think this is a really nice way of doing that. And I have my Mount Rainier needle minder. This is a Vikas Space one as well. I stitched this pattern a couple of years ago, and I really liked the needle minder, so I grabbed that. The needle is at the back at the moment. So yeah, getting on with this and quite enjoying it as I pick it up occasionally. Again, now that I've got all of the data printed out, it's much easier to pick up and put down than it would have been if I was doing it every day the day after the data was available. So we'll see how I get on with that. I'll keep you posted and updated. I'm hoping the weather over spring summer stays fairly nice, so we've got some good light for doing this, because yeah, black is hard to stitch on if you don't have the light. I think it is going to look great when it's done though. And then I have started off a small cross stitch project. I asked my husband, it was between this and the Gemstone Valley satin stitch one, and he said that I should do this. I don't think I actually have the picture, I just have the cross stitch chart now, but I don't think it means all that much to put it on the screen. It's a moon with a little girl sitting in it, or a baby sitting in it. I think it could be a girl or a boy, and then it's got a name. So I'm going to do my daughter's name, date of birth and birth weight in this, and I don't think this will take me a lot of time. It's a lovely kit by Tuva, and it said on it high quality components, and it definitely is. So for example, I'll show you that it is like a proper beechwood hoop, which is a really nice one, and the threads are all DMC, and they're all nicely separated out on these bits of cardboard, which is absolutely fabulous. I'm really pleased that I picked this up. This one is discontinued, so I don't think you can get it anymore. I actually got it from Hobbycraft for a really good price. I think it was £6. I just went to go and have a look at their cross stitch patterns, and I found 2 of these Tuva cross stitch patterns and thought, oh, these are nice and pretty good value for what you get, considering probably one of the hoops is about a £5 if you buy it from somewhere. And yeah, I looked them up later, and actually they would have been about £22, I think, full price. So I'm pleased that I picked those up, and this will be a really nice project for when I'm travelling. Nice small hoop, so I can work on this when I am away and relaxing. I also like the fact that on this sheet they have a lot of instructions. So they have a guide on starting and finishing, back stitching, cross stitch, half cross stitch, French knots, and generally like a lot of nice, easy to understand detail about how you should go about doing a cross stitch and so on. So that's fantastic for beginners. And yeah, I'm going to enjoy doing a very simple cross stitch when I'm not cross stitching the magic potions. I also wanted to shout out to makers of these kind of pouches. I absolutely love them. So they've got a vinyl like clear section here. This one is a commercial one, I think. The brand is Hobby Gift, but I did buy it off Etsy. And I've got a couple more that are made by Patchwork Paw Print on Etsy that I'll link in the description below. But yeah, I think these pouches are great. This fabric I just kind of fell in love with. And I love the fact that you can see what you've got in here really easily. I think that works really well for something like a cross stitch project. So yeah, that is gonna be on the go in the next couple of weeks probably. I'll see how I get on with it and update next time. Talking of embroidery and cross stitch, I will go into acquisitions. So I had to make the most of the Vikas Space Mother's Day sale because I just had my bonus and I've been living off statutory maternity pay, so for once I actually felt like I was able to treat myself a little bit, and I got a few little bits from the sale. So first of all I got some thread. I will get this out. This is a selection of threads, so she puts together sort of colour combos, and I really like this one, and this thread is, it's DMC. I'm not exactly sure on, oh yeah, it's coton à broder, so going for the French accent there. And this is a selection of blues and a red. And I just thought it was a really nice colour selection. So I thought I'd grab that. I am probably going to use these for the Matterhorn pattern, which I did buy from Vika a long time ago and still have not stitched on anything. I was going to stitch it onto a tote bag, which I have actually all prepared, but I didn't have the threads, so I'm hoping that this will work for that. But I'll have a little look at what she recommends in the pattern. So that was my thread. I also got some stick and stitch patches. There you go. That I do have some bigger ones already, but I thought I could do some stitching on some of my daughter's clothes and have a mountain design on some of those for her. And I have lost one of the parts, I don't know where it's gone, but I will show you in the next video. Or otherwise I got the Stitch Along 2025 pattern printed on black, so that it stands out a bit more. I opted not to have it coloured in the background, which is, I had it coloured on the other one that I've just finished, the Peyto Lake. Mainly because I want to decide what colours I use rather than going with the colour palette that she's done. And I thought this was a really cool mountain design, so I wanted to have it and work on it at some point. And it also came with the hoop as part of the fabric as well, and I've already put it in there ready to go. The 2024 one I also have in a hoop, but it's a larger one, so I'm gradually getting smaller. The 2023 one I did in a very big hoop, and it went down a size for the 2024 and down a size again for the 2025, but I think this will look really nice when it's done, and I'll have to decide what colours I'm going to use. Yeah, there was a needle minder as well that I bought, but I have obviously put that somewhere else for now. And I got a sticker as well from Vika, which is really nice. I like the fact that she throws stickers in. So that was really nice to see that she had a Mother's Day sale. I definitely was pleased to make the most of that, especially as I've just finished one of her kits. And yeah, that's all the embroidery and cross stitch stuff I have to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into my other acquisitions, and that is all fibre related. So first of all, again, I got my bonus. It was a pretty good bonus. I felt like I should spend a little bit of money on myself rather than it all on my daughter, on toys and things for her. So I went and got some fibre for some projects that I've got in mind. One of these is the Traveller shell, which I'll pop a picture of here. I did have some fibre that I was going to use to spin and knit that, but I still cannot find it. So I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to get myself some fibre. I'm going to aim to spin for that, and then if I do eventually find my other two braids, I will spin those for something else. Just because I want to get going with it. It's spring now, and my idea was to have it ready in the summer, so I need to spin and then start knitting it. So the first things that I got were, sorry for the crinkling, a set of mini braids from Spin Jones, and there is an order to these, so I got two sets. The fibre is Punta Arenas. I'm assuming I've got that correct in terms of how you say it, but possibly wrong. And I got two different sets, so set number 4 and set number 1, and I've put them together. And I got 2 of each, so that I've got overall 400 grams of fibre. So yeah, this is 4 of the braids. Okay, and then the other 4 are these ones. So yeah, I've combined them up because I want an 8 colour gradient basically. I will pop a picture of that 8 colour gradient that I've planned out on my coffee table here now, so you can have a look at what I'm thinking. So I've got 2 projects. I have the Traveller shell, which is the one that I've just put up on the screen. And then I've also got the Poorly cardigan planned. The Traveller shell I need to spin fingering weight, and the Poorly cardigan I need to spin worsted weight. And I've got some more fibre, and I'm not sure which to use for which. So let me know what you think. I am currently veering towards this combo for the traveller shell, because I think it will look really good with the stripes, to have a gradient all the way down if I can do it, which I think is okay because I'm pretty sure it's knit in one piece, but I will need to double check that, because it's effectively like a drop shoulder jumper without sleeves, so it should be one piece, but I'll double check. I've got the pattern. So I think this will work quite well for that. But the other fibre that I got was again 400 grams, because I need 400 grams for the poly. I thought I'd make sure I've got 400 grams of each, and then, you know, I can, like I said, use the fibre for another project or the yarn that I make for another project. The other one I got is from Furbeck Fibre Art, and it's Polworth, which I absolutely love spinning, definitely my favourite fibre to spin. It's coming out a lot brighter than it is in real, but this is a Vintage Dream, and again I got 400 grams of this. I just love the pinks and the greens and the yellows and a bit of orange in there, and I just thought it would be really lovely to spin. And I was initially thinking this would be really great for the traveller shell because it's very spring colours, spring summer colours, the kind of pinks and yellows, but I think it's going to be nicer to use the gradient. So I think this will end up being the poly, but let me know what you think. Absolutely love these colours and the combination that I think it's Rachel at Furbeck Fibre Arts put together in here, and I'm gonna absolutely love spinning this up. So yeah, so I was thinking that I wouldn't have to decide until I actually had the skeins in my hands, but I am gonna have to decide because I need to spin one in fingering weight and one in worsted weight. Worsted weight, I think it's going to be better to do this one. I might do a fractal spin and do a 3-ply to try and get the yarn to the right thickness. Yeah, the poly cardigan I will pop a picture of up here so that you can see what that looks like as well. But let me know your thoughts. That's what I'm veering towards at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be hard to tell. Maybe what I should do is take a leaf out of Tashi from Stitches and Starlights podcast and actually do a sample of each of the fibres and see how they turn out, which is an option. I suppose I could take a little bit of each of the gradient and sample some of this, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I'm still thinking about it, but either way, I have enough fibre to do both, and the poly cardigan will probably be something that I knit in the autumn anyway. But yeah, happy to have some more significant quantities of fibre to spin together, because the problem is with 100 grams of fibre, what I end up with is just loads of single skeins of yarn again, which was my problem before when I was just buying yarn. Now it's also a problem when I've been spinning. So if I have a larger quantity, I can knit a sweater, or have it as part of a sweater, which I'm really happy about. So yeah, that is everything I have to show you this week. I will be back as soon as I can, but in the meantime I'll keep posting some of those little shorts that you can watch of what I've been getting up to. And have a lovely crafty few weeks. Enjoy your hobby and crafting time. Bye!